Woo! Hey everybody, Jim Sammons here with the Kayak Fishing Show live. It's our first one back in a while. You know, we were at ICAST, so our official back in the studio, which is basically my office at home. Of course, brought to you by Ballast Point Brewing Company. Let's get the glare off that can. I'm going to go with my all-time favorite here, grapefruit sculpin. I hope you're enjoying a cold beer on this Friday too. So, you know, I was really busy. You know, we were at ICAST for, several days. And then after ICAST, I was lucky enough to go fishing with Wes Siegler and Russell from Siegler Reels. Had a great time. Went down to Clearwater, Florida, and the water wasn't clear. It was actually really churned up from the hurricane. So we tried to fish there for about a day and a half, and it just wasn't happening. Wasn't productive. The water was ugly. So I decided to make a big move, change airline tickets of where I was flying out of, and went up to St. Simons, Georgia. And what a cool, cool place that is. I had not been there in years. And the volume of tarpon we saw was more than I've ever seen in one spot. I mean, they're crashing baits. We only managed to hook up. The hard part was differentiating your lure from this insane volume of bait. And I didn't have lures. I didn't have any of my own stuff with me, so I wasn't fishing effectively. I did hook one, and he threw the hook. Wes jumped one right next to the boat on the fly, which was super cool. But just to see it was so amazing. I would love to have had more time. We only had basically one afternoon or one morning to fish there. But it was super, super cool and just an amazing fishery. You could see that. So great time fishing with Wes and all that. Overall, ICAST was very, very cool. As always, it's more a big social thing. You run into people you see once a year. And that was cool, but you get to wander around and see a lot of cool gear. So for today's show, let me get this brought to you by Ballast Point. So for today's show, I brought along my good friend James McBeath with Jackson Kayak, Blue Sky, and Orion. You're not on the screen yet, James. And, you know, we're going to share some of the stuff that Jackson had out there, Blue Sky, and then also some of the other cool stuff maybe he saw while he was walking around the show. So, of course, as always, we want you to bring on the questions because that always makes for a better show. You know, if you can comment, like, share this, that always makes them better. Make sure you've joined the Kayak Fishing Show group if you haven't done so already. That way, you make sure you get notified of whenever we go live because group notifications just seem to work better than page. But if you are commenting, make sure you're commenting on the Kayak Fishing Show page or the Kayak Fishing Show YouTube channel. Because those are the ones we will see, and those are the ones we can bring up on screen. So, of course, we will bring all those up, like some of these here. Gene Wilson saying, howdy do. Michael, how are you, man? Reginald, thanks for joining us. Mitch, Edgar, Larry, Jeff, Michael, Adam, Aiden from Del Rio, Texas. Thanks for joining us, everybody. And with no further ado, I'm going to bring up James McBeath. James, how are you?
Good. How are you? I was peeking around corners. It's kind of fun with cam work. You can kind of peek around corners.
So, James, man,
welcome home.
How was your ICAST? I literally probably this morning started to get my voice back. I literally, by the end of the show, I had zero voice. I could barely talk.
Well,
how about you?
I was just telling you earlier that my week before ICAST started with Eric Jackson showing up on my doorstep with the 60-foot RV, 2 dogs, and fat tire beer. And we just spent the whole week scheming, playing and doing a whole bunch of stuff. And I normally kind of ramp up to ICAST and I kind of get ready. I get all my work done. I get settled. We're doing a couple, marketing guys do a bunch of releases during ICAST, so you got to get press releases and all that kind of finance stuff. And I got none of that done. Yeah. It was completely an unproductive setup, and I was fatigued. I was already tired. I told you I bailed on my one wheel, so I was hurt. I was tired, lack of sleep, lack of everything, and then hop on a plane at god-awful hour in the morning, and ICAST began. And it's like you said, it's a family reunion that starts at 5 in the morning and ends at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, every day I was like, I'm not going out after the show. I'm going to be here because you got long days, and then a group of people grab you, and the next thing you know, you're getting back to your room at 2 o'clock.
Yeah,
it's a tough one, but it is a great show, and that's why we go every year.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting this year for sure.
Diane Sombeal, how you doing? Scott, how are you? Santiago,
we're both Jims. So they could be saying hello to both of us.
Hello, everybody. We just assume that we're both James. Actually, I actually am James. Mm-hmm. Scott, show me the good stuff. I got actually some stuff here to show you that I'm going to show here. Sean Porter, first time watcher. Thanks for joining us, Sean. Again, throw out those questions, everybody. Steve Green, my buddy from here in Southern California, or I don't know, he has moved, so I'm not sure where he is now, but good to hear from Steve. And Ricardo from Channel Islands. Larry, does Jackson Kayak have tours of the factory?
We do. Our customer service folks are really good at tours. In fact, there's a couple legendary folks there.
I have heard really great tours. I have heard there's a couple guys there that do absolutely amazing tours.
Yeah. So our Southeast rep, Ian Stewart, kind of created the whole tour program, and it's fun. You get to watch, basically follow the life of a kayak from a little bead of plastic to the final beautiful product. It's fun.
Yeah, it's cool to see. I've done the tour. I've been through the factories, but if you've never seen how these kayaks are made and each step, if you are in Sparta, Tennessee, yep, it's well worth swinging by. Is it something that you do on a regular drop-in kind of thing, or is it a point?
Yeah, I give customer service a call and let them know. Obviously, the more in advance they know, the better. It's always a busy time of year, but they make room for you for sure. They love doing it.
Yeah, like I said, they're very cool. Mitch, you said I get to meet James tomorrow.
Yeah, you're going to Muskrat. We're going to Muskrat Lake there, Jimmy. Muskrat Lake, Kayak Anglers of the Udaway, KAAO, Association of the Udaway, sorry. We have about 7 or 8 events every year, and starting with crappie in the spring, because the fishing's crappie.
I was going to say, or is it shitty?
Language.
Oh, sorry.
So then we have a few bass ones. We got a pike one, and so we're going to go around the whole Ottawa Valley, up in Ottawa Valley, Canada. And so we had really great following. We had 40 to 80 people showing up, depending on the event, and it's a lot of fun.
There's a lot of there's so much good fishing up there. Yep. I always love going up there. There's so much water. There's so many hidden lakes and stretches of rivers, and it really is a fantastic kayak fishing destination. I mean, just from the very first time I went there and did the Ottawa and almost drowned, but it's
always about the almost dying thing. Whatever.
that whole stretches of water in between rapids, for kayak anglers is just amazing. I've never been up there, and honestly, and I've traveled all over the world. Some of the most reliable fishing I've ever had that I know I can go up there and get a good shoot is up there.
You can fish in the wind here.
Yeah.
True story. You get a power pole, 8-foot power pole. You can, when you're out in the ocean, sometimes the power poles, they don't work. So it's a thing. Right now it's just starting to peak everything. The lily pads are out, so we got great largemouth. Smallies are kind of getting down deep, so we get great smallmouth fishing. The muskie are getting really big. It's not too warm for them yet, although today is 35 Celsius, which is probably 10 something Fahrenheit. It's pretty hot.
Oh, that's hot.
So getting hot, but everything's biting right now. It's a lot of fun.
Very cool. Hey, Mark from Kansas City, thanks for joining us. Daniel from Sydney, Australia. I still got to get to Australia. I've never been other than landing at the airport. I've been to New Zealand like 4 times, but I've never been to.
Well, maybe Daniel is inviting you. Daniel,
is that what that is? Saying hello is the same as inviting?
I think he's inviting me. Pretty sure.
And Robert Brown is actually watching from our YouTube channel, which is cool to see some people watching it over there as well. So, James, let's start off, talk about ICAST, about the stuff that Jackson, Blue Sky, what you guys had out there that was new for ICAST. The new EJ boat and a new Kilroy, right? So
Kilroy and a new U-pick. So kind of 2 sides to the JK ICAST experience. One, obviously, I think I like using the word belle of the ball because I'm a big, Beauty and the Beast fan. So there's that. The belle of the ball was the Bass Angler 360. It's basically the Blue Sky boat with a trolling motor. So, it gets you to, typical kayak speeds between 7 and 8 miles an hour, really good kayak speeds, 7, 8 miles an hour. And it gets you into the weeds. It's got kind of a center steering. And it's either foot steering or hand steering, and you're cutting around wherever you want to go, and you're just basically standing on the thing and moving around. It's a lot of fun to use. So we've got a lot of attention, cool electronic systems.
So for anybody who's wants to know, that we did a live while at ICAST, you can kind of get a look at it, and there's quite a few others out there. The interesting thing about this boat is it is strictly designed to be electric. It is, there's no pedal system. You could stand up paddle it with a sup paddle or something like that. Primarily, this thing is meant to have that trolling motor, right?
Yep, it's got a motor guide on there now, but we're going to have, the ability to put whatever you want on it for that matter. We're coming up with the configurations as we speak, but it's going to be, it's a fun platform to fish off of. And actually taking the flex drive out of the system out of the way, you have an added basically almost 3 square feet of real estate to wander around on. So it's even more 360 than it was before. So that went over really well. We have a very predominantly bass, audience at ICAST. It's amazing how much bass versus salt versus fly is there right now. But they were, we had a lot of, the turning heads. You see the turning heads every time they go by the booth. They stop and double take. So
it was a plastic glitter boat.
And it had glitter, which was like, what? You had to point that out. It wasn't really bright glitter, but how.
So I'm going to throw something up here just real quick. Boom. Saw this just got put up on the site today. For people who do have the Blue Sky, the motor mount, I know a lot of people were waiting for this. The motor mount for the Blue Sky is now on the website available.
It is just launched today. It basically allows you to put a little, motor of your choice on the back, whether it's a Torqeedo or otherwise. There's a bunch of them out there available to you. So it's like I said, it's a really great fishing platform, and we're trying to get everybody to fish from it based on their style and what they want to use and their products and stuff like that. So a lot of these boats you'll see, even with the U-pick and the Kilroy, we're now designing to be modular to fit the adventure you want to go on, versus having a kayak manufacturer dictating what goes on your boat because you're going fishing. Well, the reality is everybody fishes differently. They use different scenarios for redfish and bass fishing and deep sea fishing, and what we've done with the U-pick and the Kilroy has made it kind of modular, so that you can go out and anywhere on your boat you could place an item.
Well, yeah, that was the thing on the I noticed on the Kilroy, and particularly the U-pick, the insane amount of gear track.
Yep.
It's like, if you can't find a place to mount something, you're doing something wrong.
There's a lot of weird hashtags that come out from that statement, but but absolutely, that's kind of the idea. We're going to spend a lot of time working in 2000 2020, 2021 towards accessories and getting new gear for fishing, for hunting, for outdoors activities with your family, all that kind of stuff. We've started it really with Orion, and we've now provided a cooler that can go on the back. We're working more aggressively now, if you will, to be able to outfit you for your adventure using our kayak as a platform. And if your kayak has too many things already and not enough gear tracks, and the tie down points were a huge thing. If you look at the gear tracks, there's gaps underneath to put cam straps. And instead of using little wimpy bungee cords that most of us have been using for years, now we can cinch down a cam strap and hold your tent, your gear bag, your duck blinds or whatever in place as you go out. So kind of a blank slate, but a very busy slate for a kayak, and both the sit inside and sit on top boat that gets you to the adventure you want to do. So.
Yeah. What was the idea of the U-Pick? Is that designed as kind of a combination fishing, short expedition? Kind of has a different feel to it.
Yeah, we paid a lot more attention to how people store things and how people are using boats. One of the comments we've always gotten from our boats is that everything seems to be in a really cool, logical place, and we found it. That was great, but we also found it limiting. So now every square inch in your boat is a logical place to put something. If you're a lefty, you put something on the left-hand side, and if you're righty, you can put it on the right-hand side. Anything can be customizable, and there's so much accessories out there, from Yak Attack to Railblazer to fish finders to all that kind of stuff. And in the hunting world, even more so, we just needed a platform to be able to take it all. And so you wake up in the morning and U-Pick, the history behind the name, the U-Pick tribe of Alaska are one of the first to use a kayak to fish and hunt from. So we kind of took that spirit and ran with it, and the name is perfect. So U-Pick the destiny. It's pronounced a little differently, but U-Pick, your adventure. You pick the accessories that you want to use and how you want to set up, and you pick the waterways, and off you go.
Yeah,
I've been playing with that a lot.
It looked like a really fun boat. You even got the accessory dog bed for it and everything, which I know my friend Ulf in Sweden would love that, because he's got several dogs, as well as Ina is on here as well. Ina, how are you? These are my very good friends in Sweden. And again, I say it every time. It's like, this is what I love about this. We're reaching people all over the world. And, that's why I have friends all over the world, because it's been so,
You're big in Sweden.
I'm big everywhere. I'm huge in Japan.
I'm huge in the area. One other note about the U-Pick is the thing that I kind of gravitated towards is how low profile it is. It's probably our lowest profile boat on the market.
Really lower than, because the Mayfly is very low, right?
It is lower than the Mayfly, I think. So I really liked the way it rode on the water. We had a gust when we were at ICAST, and I was standing on it. I was waiting for that typical push from the gust of wind, and I didn't feel it at all. It was kind of cool. So those two were pretty exciting, for sure. There's a lot of Kilroy fans out there waiting for that second one. So
you also showed off the eDrive.
We did.
You had that on display. Was it on the, I wasn't able to get there in time for the on the water demo. Were people able to buzz around that on the on the water?
Yeah, we had it on the Blue Sky that was out there. It was funny. The two most obvious boats buzzing around was the one with the Torpedo from Bonafide and our Blue Sky, and they were just like going kind of back and forth across the pond. It was pretty funny. We have with the two new boats, Torpedo is working with all manufacturers right now, getting systems set up so that you can quickly install Torpedo, and the U-Pick is set for that, as well as our other boats. So that's kind of cool too. But yeah, the eDrive is finally out. We are. I just got a text from Dave a couple of minutes ago before the show, and we're shipping in 2 weeks. So we've what we wanted to do is make sure that our Kickstarters all got them. We thank them very much. They all got theirs last week, and then we got our second batch this week that went to dealers who have outstanding orders. So the orders that were already gone into the system are being shipped as we speak. And the following week, we're going to put up the for sale sign, and we're going to be shipping e-drives.
Well, I need mine shipped so I can have my.
Finally.
I need my 2 Torqeedos and e-drive all on my Blue Sky going at the same time.
Opposite directions, you know. There we go. Yeah, you got a pretty motor heavy boat there, buddy.
Yeah, it's if you're gonna be lazy, be real lazy.
Well, I went out with my teammate Scott Barton. I think he's around here somewhere, probably listening. Scott, or he might have been driving. He's going to the tournament tomorrow too. Anyway, Scott and I went out. We went muskie fishing, and I had the Blue Sky with the e-drive. I had a prototype, and it was a windy day. And he was like, "You know how you're pushing your paddle through the wind, kind of thing." And I just went, and, you know, it depending on the battery, it goes pretty good. I had a big marine battery, so you know, on the Blue Sky, you don't really, weight's not really an issue. I threw a $60 marine battery, and it goes for 2-3 days. You know, it just doesn't stop. You know, and I'm just, he's, you know, getting to the spot. I've already killed it. You know, I've already slogged it with you know, then I'm off to the shoreline, and yeah, I felt kind of bad.
Well, that's one of the cool things too. Is like with that, you know, you bring your pedal drive with you as your backup, and you know, and buzz around with that e-drive or your Torqeedos or whatever.
Yeah. And so the pedal drive, what I did was you know how you have the 2 screws. So to take it off and to exchange, it's just those 2 bolts. They come off. You lift the pedal drive off, and you put the e-drive on. 2 bolts on. And what I did is I have a second pair of those bolts, and I just basically tied the flex drive pedals to the back Yak Attack track.
The one behind the seat?
Right behind the seat. So that way it's out of the way and it's within reach. So if I do, you know, run out of battery or whatever, I could just pick it up and I'm pedaling.
That's very cool. We have Emma.
Again,
she's also Sweden.
Mm-hmm. Hi, Emma.
Justin's very excited for the new Kilroy HD. Yeah, that was a very cool boat. Yeah. Buzz saying happy Friday. Thank you, man.
We're actually joining Justin in October, and we're going to be bringing a U-pick and a Kilroy HD up for that shoot there, Justin. Don't get too excited.
Mike McKenna says my next boat will be a Coosa HD or maybe an FD. All the kayaks are super cool. Yeah, I mean, Jackson Kayak is definitely been staying on top of the trends. My wife is saying hi to Emma. Oh, well, here we go. Let's talk to somebody in Spain. Egowitz, how are you, man? Good to see you.
You should have like a map up here that just has a little dot.
I know, keep putting pins. Charles, how are you doing?
Red fish.
Mike McKenna, I remember a few years ago when you said you were only a paddler. Well, I am a paddler. I mean, I love paddling. I'll always be a paddler over a peddler. I mean, it just works better for me. But so I'm just going to skip over the pedaling and go straight to the e-drive.
that could have been sent to both of us, that one, I think.
Yeah.
I've always been a paddler. This is literally the first time I ever got on a flex drive. Actually, that's not true. I was in one in Bahamas, but was on the Blue Sky. So there we
go. Charles, he says he wants a Mayfly with a motor. That can be done.
Can be done now.
Yeah. You know, it actually was a very cool. If anybody has the Blue Sky and was thinking going Torqeedo, they have. God, and I had his card here. Let's see. Here it is.
I'll take a video pause.
Innovative Sportsman. He has come up with the full linkage to tie a Torqeedo into the steering mechanism of your Blue Sky, which is super sweet. So yeah.
It's kind of like you're on the Millennium Falcon, right?
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to that personally.
We're going to be showing that off, I think. They showed one off. Actually, Torqeedo showed a Blue Sky off, completely connected to the steering at the KBF National Championships this year. And I think at PSR, we're going to be showing off a couple of more options for that. So,
and I don't know if you saw it, and we were talking about other stuff at ICAST, but if you saw the bigger motor coming out by Torqeedo,
yep,
and it is dead freaking quiet. It doesn't make a sound.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
normally on the other ones, like this thing is dead quiet.
Yeah, that's the one they were ripping around in.
That thing's got the juice. It'll throw you back in your chair. I mean, when you first start off, it's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to getting that. They've also got a attachment that goes on the down shaft so you can still use the motor itself as the rudder.
Okay, cool. I see Mitch has said that his 2-blade on his 360 is a lot better than 3-blade. Absolutely. So we did a lot of work on the E-drive, obviously battery life and being really smart with this, the reducing resistance throughout the flex drive system. And our biggest discovery was that the surface face of the 3 blades create a lot more resistance. So if you hit current, or if you hit speed, or if we really pushed the flex drive, it gained more resistance on the 3 blades. So the 2 prop blade, there's 2 of them actually. There's one that's better for the motor, and there's one that's better for the pedaling. So both those have been kind of a eureka aha moments for sure. And we're now shipping with them. So,
well, I think, I mean, if people think about, back to paddling, if you use that big blade paddle, you can push more water initially, but you fatigue faster.
And you got wind resistance, and doesn't slide in the water as easy. Absolutely. Yeah.
So you use that longer touring style blade, it's much easier on your body. Yeah. You can paddle more. So, I mean, if you can equate it to that different blade, I mean, it certainly makes sense.
There you go. Mitch, look for a lot more stuff like that. We've made some significant leaps and bounds since the first version of the Flex Drive for sure. And Paddle Sports Retailer, I keep saying PSR, but Paddle Sports Retailer, we have some more news coming out. So
I've been teased a little bit with stuff coming from there, and I can't wait to find out myself. Here's a question for you, James. Being in the kayaking marketing end of things, Hobie won Best Boat. Mm-hmm. Their new drive, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, I don't know if you had a chance to look at it. It's pretty freaking amazing. But with that said, it did push the price of this boat to $5,000.
Yeah, well, it's been if you step back and do this study of the kayak fishing marketplace, it's obviously been a very interesting time, and in that it seemed like the last year or two has been pushing more development towards the lower costing boats, keeping things simpler, figuring out better ways to rotomold and thermoform and do things more cost friendly. And when you're up against the made in China watercraft that are out there everywhere,
there's a lot of them now.
Yeah, and we're getting knocked off, Hobie's getting knocked off, everybody's getting knocked off, and things are becoming cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. But then the reality is there is, as enthusiasts, we always drive towards, not just doing our best, but being in the best, using the best. You're not going to be satisfied with a boat that only gets you halfway to what you want to do in your fishing. And there's always going to be that market, and that's going to be the elite market. And the Hobie release reminds us of that for sure. And Blue Sky too. We're in the same boat. It's a higher priced boat. We're positioning our boats a little bit differently. Theirs is still a kayak, and you still deal with kayak stuff. There's a huge marketplace available to us who don't want to get into a kayak. They want to get onto a boat,
right.
And that's where Blue Sky comes in, and especially the bass angler. There's a lot more people that went through ICAST this week, and one of my biggest observations saying, I'd get on that. Right. They're used to coming by the Jackson booth, seeing little boats that they would never get on. And all of a sudden they walk by and they saw the trolling motor. The trolling motor is what, they're like, oh, there's something familiar. And you can see the little lights go off, and they're like, what? Under $5,000? What?
We had the one video up of Jameis and I in Louisiana that we posted up. It's had almost 1 million views.
Yeah.
And there's two types of comments. That isn't a boat. That's not a kayak. Why don't you just get a boat? Why not get a John boat? Da, da, da. Mm-hmm. And the other comments are, that's really cool. There's a boat I would get on. It's like.
We did a really cool analysis of all the boats within that price category. And one of the biggest eye openers for us was that you can't, in that category of price category, you can't buy a boat that has all that real estate to walk around on. You can walk in a John boat, you can walk in some of the skiffs that are out there, but they also don't have the storage and the mounting systems and the rod holders and the staging areas. And, there's tons of stuff that we've kind of bridged into and brought to the marketplace that a lot of those craft don't answer to. So the only way typically you go there is to buy a bass boat. Well, this is kind of like the medium step between, the shore, the dock and a bass boat.
Yeah. And what I tell everybody, until you get on one and try it and see how much fun these things are.
It's kind of fun.
I don't want to hear anything negative because they are so fun to play on.
We used to be paddlers.
Yeah.
That was like, oh.
Yeah, it's just such a super fun boat. Brent saying, when will the silent motor be available? They were saying 2020.
Yeah,
is what Jeff Little said.
Yeah.
So
that being said, most of their motors are pretty quiet, as is ours. I'm not sure what kind of fishing you're going to do. If you're going to rip into a bay full of redfish, you're going to scare them away, but you just don't rip into a bay full of redfish.
Well, that's kind of the nice combination of having the electric motor and the paddle ability. You can get close to the area and then really stealthily slide in. Yeah. Michael Cox had a question. Will you guys be making a camo cover for the Kilroy HD?
Yeah, a bunch of stuff. Covers for sure. We've done that before, and I think it's a little longer. Oops, sorry guys. It's a little longer and a little wider than original Kilroy, but the cover that we did have from Realtree, I'll probably get crap from Damon for this, but I think it still fits. So we have a Realtree cover out there now. But that's part of what I said earlier. There's a whole development phase that we're going to go into now with accessories, decoy bags and a whole bunch of stuff for hunting and a whole bunch of stuff for fishing and a whole bunch of stuff
that new Kilroy looks just so accessorizable.
Yeah, and it's faster than the original Kilroy. So sit inside wise, it's probably the fastest boat. It's probably one of if not our fastest boat paddling wise. There's no scupper holes. There's no resistance. Tony Lee and the design team did an incredible job at shaping that, and that thing just rockets. I don't think I think even some of the wreck boats like the Pungo aren't even faster than that. So,
Michael Venderbart here on Curacao, a motor sometimes very welcome, a lot of windy. I spent 6 days in Curacao with a lot of windy.
Yeah,
it was windy all day. Every day.
You spent a few days in Curacao, Florida, Louisiana, Panama, Puerto Rico with a lot of windy.
Yeah, we get a lot of windy. But I haven't talked to the guys in Curacao about they've got good tarpon fishing there. So we're thinking about maybe trying to figure out a way to get back to Curacao. It's a beautiful place. I mean, the most beautiful water you've ever seen. Larry says the blue sky is very cool. I like the idea of sitting up high on the blue sky, easier on my knees. Yeah, for me, it is just so much more comfortable to be in that high position. Particularly if you are using the pedals. That was my biggest thing with pedal boats before. The seated position with the legs out was very uncomfortable for me.
It's a different position, different muscle group. You're sitting down more like it's a more familiar pedaling experience than even the Hobies and the Jackson FDs when you're sitting down in the lower seat. You're pushing out with those boats versus pedaling down, which is what you're familiar with when you're pedaling a bike. So
right. What else? You see anything else that was cool? I mean, I know you were stuck in the booth mostly.
Yeah,
I did see that water once.
Yeah, there's a few things. It's funny because it's. I was saying something. I mentioned you told me you wanted me to talk to me about what you saw at ICAST, and this time especially, and I'm not sure why, it kind of hit me that a lot to do with you bringing me out to different environments. I have way too much to look at. So if I went there and I was just bass fishing or just fishing offshore or just fly fishing or just one of the disciplines, then I would kind of confine my greatest hits to just I saw a really cool topwater frog presentation and that kind of thing. But there's so much out there. But one thing that did catch my eye was the Yakima. It was the Yakima rod box.
I did see that.
Did you see that? That was really cool.
A new fly one, and then the other one, which was a more kind of looked like your normal rooftop carrier, but totally set up for rods.
Well, it's funny. For 7 years we've been in the fishing industry, and our team has grown. And if you look at our Facebook page, everybody's doing it yourself. You've got I just did DIY. Fly or rod box. Jameson had one built and left the door open. You remember that? Everybody's kind of storing your rods all set up and ready to go, just to go an hour down the road kind of thing is a thing. And I don't think they're that expensive. I think they're in the $300-400 range if I remember, and it was perfect. It fits like 8 or 9 rods and.
Yeah, it had like 2 layers
kind
of thing. I mean, I didn't get a super good look at it. I just kind of was on my way to a meeting and I saw it and I went over and gave it a quick little look, but it looked very cool. And then, like I said, they had one for the fly rods as well, which was more tubular for each rod.
Probably long too, probably.
Yeah, super long.
The other thing was my son's at the door. Buzz off! I'm on the phone. I was very polite, by the way. Could have been worse. So the other thing I noticed was a lot of the lure companies are going realistic.
Yes.
And the first one that I saw was a whole series for walleye, because we're into wallies up here, eh?
Oh yes.
And from what were they called? Live Target. And they had the cluster of fish in, kind of looked like they took a whole bunch of minnows and just, put them in glue and put them all together. It's pretty cool, and some of the theories that these companies are coming up with. So I went to your Band of Anglers booth and I sat there for a while looking at, how these things emulate, especially the poppers that you can drag trolling behind you. So instead of killing your arm popping, you could actually troll, and these things will shake and they'll dive into the water. They come back up, create bubbles. They do everything a popper should do, but just as you're getting from point A to point P, point B. So my dad's always saying, always keep your lure in the water. You're not going to catch anything. So
that's it. I would say if I'm moving, I'm trolling. So even if it's something like that, and like you said, that the super long distance popper by a Band of Anglers, that thing actually swims at a slow speed. So not just ripping it and popping it. It actually has a side-to-side kick if you just drop it. Some of this, actually, I had some of his stuff. You guys all know that I love the Magic Swimmer by Patrick Sebile. Well, this is his next one. And he's not one to say this very often, but he says this one is better than his Magic Swimmer. And it's made of that hyperlastic.
Right.
It's much, much tougher. But the way he could rig this thing and kill it out, I mean, it looked like a dead fish, an injured fish, or you can straight swim it. He also had, this is a couple different ways, this shrimp. I mean, that looks real. And the way he rigs it this way, so you're pulling it backwards, that tail is actually kicking.
Oh, really?
And you're pulling it. I mean, it looks like a real shrimp. It swims like a real shrimp. So
that's what I mean. Some of these. So now I tie flies, and you're always trying to match the hatch and emulate the hatch. Forget match the hatch. You got to emulate it with how you tie it and the use of different types of materials to emulate the actual motion of that bait. Now it's coming, instead of like a bold plastic that's just going to shine funny, rattle, and attract attention, they're taking it a step farther, and I thought that was really cool.
There's just so many. If anybody saw the spool tech, I've had really good luck with this, and what he's done with to improve it. I mean, now again, it's got that hyper-elastic, tough plastic tail, because honestly, in the original Spool Techs, the rubber on it was a one fish tail. I mean, if you had got any kind of a toothy type critter, it was gone. Now this stuff, it's
that's the one with the hard plastic.
Yeah,
that was cool too.
And the hook deploys.
Oh, I hadn't seen that.
Yeah, so this is a wire leader, so you can fish a light leader up to the head. And then when the fish hits it, you have a wire leader here. And now the fish can no longer use the lure as leverage to throw the hook, and you have wire.
And you have less damage to the soft plastic because the actual action is taken away from the fish.
When you just turn this little knob and wind her back in.
Are they going to have a motor version of that? I'm just asking. No, I thought that was cool. And that was the other thing I was going to mention. There's a bunch of new technology, and it's more little gadgety stuff that protects your soft baits. So I fish for muskie and I fish for bass that, as soon as you get the big bass, all of a sudden your soft bait is blowing up your line, and, the head's ripped off, the tail's ripped off. You can't get the hook back in. But there's some pretty cool technology out there that protect that soft bait too. That one included for sure.
Let's touch a couple questions here. Comments. Charlie Bond, will there be a camo color for the bite?
I don't remember. A new color is coming out soon. I think it's we're setting up the program. So Paddle Sports Retailer, which we've mentioned a few times, is when we it's the starting of the gathering of 2020 season. The new colors have been decided. I just don't remember what they are. I'll look into it, and I'll text back on this comment stream.
Dave Fowler, need a higher seat in the Mayfly. Haven't some guys kind of retrofitted themselves to get higher seats?
There's a bunch of stuff. There's been a bunch of activity on the Bite too. So the Bite has a new seat. And it has a new locking mechanism that we were showing at ICAST.
Oh, right. That's right.
So the seat was a little too straight, so we curved the back of the seat. We have new comfortable material, and we have a nice little latching system that goes on. That's all going to be retrofittable to your current Bite. The Bite seat itself is super high. So we are going a little bit higher, and the seat that you see in the seat system you see in the U-Pick and the Kilroy are high as well.
Luke says, how about those guys putting up dog beds on the kayaks? I love it. Yeah, that was really cool on the U-Pick.
Yeah, I don't know why he didn't show the cat bed. Like I was like, you get a dog bed? Why isn't there a cat bed? There's probably more.
Charlie L says, can we bring the yellow jacket color back? Well, you can pay for custom colors, right?
It's a little higher, yeah. These days, there's two colors that did really well historically that I've always liked. Black Widow, of course.
That was one of my favorites.
Black Widow is really good, and using the Black Widow name is a thing, but don't worry about that. But they got a spider on their boat, so it's really kind of cool. Anyways, never mind. Spider envy. So Black Widow is a cool color that was really popular, and Yellow Jacket was one of them. Arctic is a third color that's been popular for us. So we tend to kind of mix and match, bring it back, and try some new colors. So we'll always have like a classic color in the mix and a few new colors to try out. And but at some point it'll come back probably.
Mike McKenna says he loved the videos from ICAST. Thanks. You're welcome. I wish, honestly, I had planned on doing a lot more, but I did have quite a few meetings, and I did, like I said, I did get trade show voice, and I just couldn't really do them at some points because I just had no voice at all. But that was good. We had a lot of really good meetings with current sponsors and potential sponsors, and so we can keep this thing rolling.
Yeah, keeping busy is a good thing at that show. So you're up at, like I said, 5:00. We had breakfast meetings, and then you're on the show floor. It's an 8 to 6 show, so it's not like it's a 9 to 2 show like some of them and things like that. It was 8 to 6, so you're constantly talking, and it's a thing for sure. The voice.
Well, if you're constantly talking, that means you're busy, and
time goes by fast.
That's a good thing. And of course, the fact that beers show up in many of the booths around 4:00. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
Actually, in hindsight, it was a bad thing.
We did have a heck of a mini golf tournament, though. That was. Did we?
Yeah, there's a Pirates of the Caribbean golf.
There was something.
That poor guy. He was there. It was closing at 11:30. The last foursomes can go on at 11:30, and we got there at 11:31. And EJ went and prepaid for like 20 people, and then we all kind of showed up in spans of groups, and it was a thing.
They were not happy to see us.
They were not happy to see us. Yeah.
Doesn't matter. We had fun.
We did have fun. Yeah. I did miss out on the Mario Andretti night. There's a Mario Andretti supercart. There's little fast go-karts. I missed out on that night.
I didn't see that one either because I wasn't invited. That's okay. There's so many good things there and so many cool things to see. I stopped by the Costa sunglasses booth, and they've just got, so much stuff there.
Yep.
Folks at Sims, the thing about Sims is their clothing is expensive. But I mean, I've got some Sims stuff that I've had personally that I've had for like 15 years. It's one of those things. It's like it's not a lifestyle. That's the one thing that always cracks me if you go to these shows. There are so many new, latest, greatest lifestyle brands. Salt this, fish what,
Right.
And it's like, oh, the latest, greatest, lifestyle brand. But then you look at brands like Sims that have been around forever. Mm-hmm. And they're just making quality stuff.
Yeah, they have it dialed. We did the Sims rain jackets about 3 years ago. We did.
Oh, right.
And actually, you know what? I barely use it fishing. I use it in the winter.
Really?
When I at -40 put a specific jacket on, that's my go-to jacket. I have other Gore-Tex jackets and everything, but that's my go-to. That's pretty good. Lots of clothing happening. Lots of companies, brands recognizing that fishing is a pretty significant market. So there's been a couple new clothing brands and stuff like that. But
yeah. Luke, seriously, any new PFDs you recommend that were introduced at ICAST? I think a lot more PFDs get introduced at like Paddle Sports Retailer.
You do, yeah.
Or used to be at Outdoor Retailer. I don't know how much Paddle Sports is still at Outdoor Retailer, but more stuff there. I didn't see any new. I wear Kokatat. I will say this: the main thing with your PFD is try several of them on and make sure it's one that's comfortable, so you'll wear it. And if you have the chance, put it on and try it on while you're sitting in a kayak, so you know how it fits with the seat of the boat that you're using.
Yeah, I would actually say that there was maybe just NRS that was a kayak fishing brand kayak fishing friendly brand for fishing there, and that's testimony. Like you said, most new releases for paddle sports happen at Paddle Sports Retailer, which is in the end of August. So I think you're going to see more releases there than you're going to see at ICAST.
Yeah, I think so. What is this one? Do you still sell the coolers with flaws in them at a discount price? And we're talking about Orion coolers.
So they're called blems, and for the most part, a blem is a color. So we do what we call rotomolded. So you put a whole bunch of plastic in 3 different, if it's a green, white, green, cooler, you do a striper white, you do a striper green, a striper white, striper green, and then it goes into a rotation. It gets heated up and it gets rotated in the mold, and the plastic melts and blows out. Well, sometimes it's literally blows out. So all the white kind of blows together and it kind of comes out, not so 100% perfect. And that's what we call a blem. So yes, we do. There's a 2000. So every year we take, right now we're in 2019. So the 2018 blem coolers are on sale. Color and blem coolers are on sale on orioncoolers.com. It's like 20% discount or 25%. Yeah.
That's cool. And I tell you what, I've got the Seafoam Orion cooler that matches the Seafoam Blue Sky, and it sure looks good on there. It is a good looking one.
Yeah, we play with some solid colors this year, so you'll see some more solid colors coming out. Let's
give Damon Bungard some love. What's up? Because I saw something today.
Pardon?
The Orion kennels.
Yeah,
that's really cool. And he actually posted one that had some really cool colors on it.
It looks like a Rastafarian gone wild. The kennels. Obviously he's a sportsman, and a big part of his style of being a sportsman is birding and chasing down white-tailed deer and stuff like that. And he breeds his dogs basically to find animals. He's got this one dog that goes out and finds animals. So care for his man's best friend is a big part of what he does. He's bringing them on ATVs, and he's bringing them in rough roads and pickup trucks, and he's long been trying to get us to do something, because we were in the rotomolding business. We can kind of solve a lot of the problems that are out there when it comes to transporting animals. And he basically spearheaded the Orion Kennels program and did just that. We have four sizes of kennels, from a little tiny Chihuahua to the big Dalmatian kind of style kennels, the extra larges. And he did a whole bunch of stuff with safety. When you tie kennels down, most of the time, all the time, they tie down direct to the kennel itself. These ones tie down to a rope system, so that if there's any impact, the ropes are used to kind of absorb the impact. So they kind of pull through the system.
It's kind of a shock absorber.
It's kind of a shock absorber. So he did that, and then there's comfort and breathing, and the door itself was like 6 months of just scratching their heads trying to figure out how to solve all the problems of the current doors with the little squeeze latches and all this stuff that you see. Just like we do with coolers and we do with kayaks, we went out and solved problems and challenges that enthusiasts face, in this case, when they bring their dogs out to the wilderness.
It had all kinds of attachment points. Add accessories to it, though. If anybody's interested in those, it's Orion Kennels. But I said I got a brief look at them at the show, and they're very impressive compared to. I'm a dog lover. We've got 4 dogs. I don't crate my dogs, but anything to do with dogs always catches my eye, and they look really cool. Corey Colito has a question. I'm wondering, what is your idea for me? I'm 6'4", 320, and I'm looking for a kayak. And then he said, below that, sit on top.
Yeah, no, well, the big rig, there's a bunch of them out there. The big rig HD FD is pretty good. Even the Kusa HD or FD is a good size for you. They're wide enough, so you're looking at a width between 36 to 38 inches wide. That'll you'll actually be able to stand. 6'4", you got a high center of gravity. The Blue Sky is a good one. Obviously, if you want to delete the word kayak and put boat there, and it'll be in the same price range, as maybe a little bit more expensive than what you're getting for a kayak that stable. The Hobie PA is good too, but you're talking about the same price as a Blue Sky as well. But in that range, the larger.
Yeah, I think like I said, I think the big rig would actually work well. I mean, that thing carries a ton of weight, and it is so stable. Of course, we always say, if you have the opportunity, get out there and try some out. If you can get to a demo day, your local shop.
Yep, absolutely.
Try some different boats, see what you're the most comfortable in. I will say this: don't overestimate the importance of stability when you're first testing out boats, because there is a learning curve. And sometimes you get into a boat, people get into a boat, they're like, okay, I really want stability. And then they get something that, for their size is just so big, they can't even paddle it.
Absolutely.
So you can learn stability. This is the one thing I used to always say when I was really in faster boats is you can learn stability, but you'll never make a slow boat fast. So, having something you're comfortable paddling, but that big rig, I personally, and I'm over 200 pounds, I can put all my weight to one side of that boat and it's still stable enough. You can stand up and dance on it.
Well, so after the Coosa FD, which was designed more for pedaling than paddling, you could still paddle it. We kind of went back to the drawing board with the big rig. And the cool thing about that is again, Tony Lee and his gang made sure that you can paddle it. So we have the HD version, which is a paddleable version. Then you've got a pod that you could switch out and turn it into an FD version. And that's compatible with both the pedals and the motor, right? So it's kind of it tracks that's probably our best tracking kayak. One below the Kraken and one below the Kilroy. When it comes to tracking, it really moves well. So if you're a big guy, you want stability, but you still want to be able to move, whether you're using your arms, your legs, or a motor, it's a pretty good option.
Well, yeah, and you bring that up, the HD FD. You can start it out as a paddling boat, and then if you figure, hey, I'd really like to get into those pedals, it's just a matter of pulling out the pod, putting in the pedal pod, and you got a pedal boat. And then if you go, okay, well, I want to move up to that E-drive, then it's just a matter of dropping the E-drive in the same spot as where your pedals were. So it really is a boat you can grow with.
Yeah, and a lot of people have. We're seeing a lot of people getting the HD paddling around, and especially the competitive guys who want to get into pedal drive and be able to hover on spot and deal with wind and be hands free and get those 20% more casts in, when they're on the tournament trail. They'll graduate to that. Now you'll see the tournament trails, because they're so friendly to motors. Now they're able to step up. So we're really the only platform that you can do that with, especially the big rig. Big rig and the Blue Sky are, even the Blue Sky you can't paddle as well. It's more of a sup kind of paddling experience. But the big rig is probably the only product on the market where you can truly paddle really well, pedal really well, and have a motor. And that the motor is more effective. The FlexDrive E motor is more effective on the Blue Sky than it is any other boat. So it's pretty cool.
Hey, he also said, I use one that you can go inside and roll and eat the water. Yeah.
It's a whitewater guy. Whew, there we go. We roll and eat the water all the time in whitewater.
Mike McKenna, does the Coosa FD convert to FlexDrive? Well,
so Mike
is FlexDrive.
So first of all, the FD is. Are you talking about the E-drive? Maybe he's talking about the E-drive.
Probably that's.
So the FlexDrive is, if you look on the top, it's basically a unit that goes on top of a lower unit. So you have an upper unit and a lower unit. You unscrew the upper unit, take that off, and you take the FlexDrive and you slide it right in, 2 screws, and you're off. So it's the FlexDrive. Anything with any FD is compatible with the FlexDrive E.
FlexDrive, that's it. It's the FlexDrive E. I have a habit of just calling it the E-drive.
Well, we called it the E-drive for like a year, and then we realized that, I can't remember who. I think it might have been Minn Kota, or someone has an E-drive already. It's not trademarked, but man, if you're Google searching, you Google search E-drive, you end up. Now we're taking over the Google search results for it, but we went with FlexDrive E. So. There we go.
Kokomo Beach, Curacao is watching. Is that where that came from? That gonna go down to Kokomo?
That's a surf song, right?
I know, but wasn't that
Beach Boys, right?
Yeah. Is that where that came from? I didn't know Kokomo was in Curacao. I don't know. James, we've been on an hour.
And I just finished my bachelor beer.
And I just finished my Ballast Point.
I really like that Ballast Point. That's the one you brought to Puerto Rico. We had a beautiful balcony evening involving the grapefruit tinted. It was new out then, I think.
Yeah,
it could have been anyway. But
yeah. And wishing our best to old Omar Araka and hoping that everything turns around in his life, because that was a great place and great people. But anyway, James, thank you so much for this last minute deciding to join me.
Wait, I wasn't your first choice?
You were about fifth.
Well, then I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
You were my first choice after the other guy no-showed on me.
There we go.
So I really appreciate it. Good times at ICAST. I'm sure we'll be seeing you again soon.
Cheers. Bye, everybody.
Take care, man.
Cheers.
Well, that went by fast. I really appreciate everybody joining us as always. Remember, our shows are brought to you by Ballast Point Brewing Company. If you are going on the water this weekend, remember, please always wear your PFD and keep your paddle right side up. Take care. It's not.
I'm going fishing.